All right, guys, we're on Ragged Dick, chapter 15. Dick secures a tutor. Dick secures a tutor. The next morning, Dick was unusually successful, having plenty to do and receiving for one job 25 cents, the gentleman refusing to take change. Then flashed upon Dick's mind the thought that he had not yet returned the change due to the gentleman whose boots he had blacked on the morning of his introduction to the reader. What'll he think of me? Said Dick to himself. I hope he won't think I'm mean enough to keep the money. Now Dick was scrupulously honest, and though the temptation to be otherwise had often been strong, he had always resisted it. He was not willing on any account to keep money which did not belong to him, and he immediately started for 125 Fulton Street, the address which had been given him, where he found Mr. Grayson's name on the door of an office on the first floor. The door being opened, Dick walked in. Is Mr. Grayson in? He asked of a clerk who sat on a high stool before a desk. Not just now. He'll be in soon. Will you wait? Yes, said Dick. Very well. Take a seat then. Dick sat down and took up the Morning Tribune, but presently came to a word of 4 syllables, which he pronounced to himself a sticker, and laid it down. But he had not long to wait, for 5 minutes later Mr. Grayson entered. Did you wish to speak to me, my lad? Said he to Dick, whom in his new clothes he did not recognize. Yes, sir, said Dick. I owe you some money. Indeed, said Mr. Grayson pleasantly. That's an agreeable surprise. I didn't know but you had come for some. So you are a debtor of mine, and not a creditor. I believe that's right, said Dick, drawing 15 cents from his pocket and placing it in Mr. Grayson's hand. 15 cents, repeated he in some surprise. How do you happen to be indebted to me in that amount? You gave me a quarter for a shining in your boots yesterday morning, and couldn't wait for the change. I meant to have brought it before, but I forgot all about it till this morning. It had quite slipped my mind also, but you don't look like the boy I employed. If I remember rightly, he wasn't as well dressed as you. No, said Dick. I was dressed for a party then, but the clothes was too well ventilated to be comfortable in cold weather. You're an honest boy, said Mr. Grayson. Who taught you to be honest? Nobody, said Dick, but it's mean to cheatin' still. I've always knowed that. Then you've got ahead of some of our businessmen. Do you read the Bible? Like he said, you're smarter than some of our businessmen. No, said Dick. I've heard it's a good book, but I don't know much about it. You ought to go to some Sunday school. Would you be willing? Yes, said Dick promptly. I want to grow up respectable, but I don't know where to go. Then I'll tell you, the church I attend is at the corner of Fifth Avenue and 21st Street. I've seen it, said Dick. I have a class in the Sunday school there. If you'll come next Sunday, I'll take you into my class and do what I can to help you. Thank you, said Dick, but perhaps you'll get tired of teaching me. I'm awful ignorant. No, my lad, said Mr. Grayson kindly. You evidently have some good principles to start with, as you have shown by your scorn of dishonesty. I shall hope good things of you in the future. Well, Dick, said our hero, apostrophizing himself as he left the office, you're getting up in the world. You've got money invested, and are going to attend church by particular invitation on Fifth Avenue. I shouldn't wonder much if you should find cards when you get home from the mayor requesting the honor of your company to dinner, along with other distinguished guests. Dick felt in very good spirits. He seemed to be emerging from the world in which he had hitherto lived into a new atmosphere of respectability, and the change seemed very pleasant to him. At 6 o'clock, Dick went into a restaurant on Chatham Street and got a comfortable supper. He had been so successful during the day that after paying for this, he still had 90 cents left. While he was dispatching his supper, another boy came in, smaller and slighter than Dick, and sat down beside him. Dick recognized him as a boy who 3 months before had entered the ranks of the bootblacks, but who from a natural timidity had not been able to earn much. He was ill-fitted for the coarse companionship of the street boys, and shrank from the rude jokes of his present associates. Dick had never troubled him, for our hero had a certain chivalrous feeling which would not allow him to bully or disturb a younger and weaker boy than himself. How are you, Fosdick? Said Dick as the other seated himself. Pretty well, said Fosdick. I suppose you're all right. Let me highlight that name. Oh, yes, I'm right side up with care. I've been having a bully supper. What are you going to have? Some bread and butter. Why don't you get a cup of coffee? Why, said Fosdick reluctantly. I haven't got enough money tonight. Never mind, said Dick. I'm in luck today. I'll stand treat. That's kind in you, said Fosdick gratefully. Oh, never mind that, said Dick. Accordingly, Accordingly, he ordered a cup of coffee and a plate of beefsteak and was gratified to see that his young companion partook of both with evident relish. When the repast was over, the boys went out into the street together, Dick pausing at the desk to settle for both suppers. "Where are you going to sleep tonight, Fosdick?" asked Dick as they stood on the sidewalk. "I don't know," said Fosdick a little sadly. "In some doorway, I expect, but I'm afraid the police will find me out and make me move on." "I'll tell you what," said Dick. "You must go home with me. I guess my bed will hold two." "Have you got a room?" asked the other in surprise. "Yes," said Dick, rather proudly and with a little excusable exultation. "I got a room over in Mott Street. There I can receive my friends. That'll be better than sleeping in a doorway, won't it?" "Yes, indeed it will," said Fosdick. "How lucky I was to come across you. It comes hard to me living as I do. When my father was alive, I had every comfort." "That's more'n I ever had," said Dick, "but I'm going to try to live comfortable now. Is your father dead?" "Yes," said Fosdick sadly. He was a printer, but he was drowned one dark night from a Fulton ferry boat, and as I had no relations in the city and no money, I was obliged to go to work as quick as I could, but I don't get on very well." "Didn't you have no brothers nor sisters?" asked Dick. "No," said Fosdick. "Father and I used to live alone. He was always so much company to me that I feel very lonesome without him. There's a man out west somewhere that owes him $2,000. He used to live in the city, and father lent him all his money to help him get into business, but he failed or pretended to and went off. If father hadn't lost that money, he would have left me well off, but no money would have made up his loss to me." "What's the man's name that went off with your father's money?" "His name is Hiram Bates." "Perhaps you'll get the money again sometime." "There isn't much chance of it," said Fosdick. "I'd sell out my chances of that for $5. "Maybe I'll buy you out sometime," said Dick. "Now come round and see what sort of a room I've got. I used to go to the theater evenings when I had money, but now I'd rather go to bed early and have a good sleep." "I don't care much about theater," said Fosdick. "Father didn't used to let me go very often. He said it wasn't good for boys." "I like to go to the old Bowery sometimes. They have tip-top plays there. Can you read and write well?" he asked as a sudden thought came to him. "Yes," said Fosdick. "Father always kept me at school when he was alive, and I stood pretty well in my classes. I was expecting to enter at the Free Academy next year." "Then I'll tell you what," said Dick. "I'll make a bargain with you. I can't read much more than a pig, and my writing looks like hen's tracks. I don't want to grow up knowing no more than a 4-year old boy. I don't want to grow up knowing no more than a 4-year old boy. If you'll teach me reading and writing evenings, like if you teach me reading and writing in the evenings, you shall sleep in my room every night. That'll be better in stored that'll be better in doorsteps or old boxes where I slept many a time." "Are you in earnest?" said Fosdick, his face lighting up hopefully. "In course I am," said Dick. "It's fashionable for young gentlemen to have private tutors to introduct them into the flower beds of literature and science, and why shouldn't I follow the fashion?" So what was the college of the city of New York? There's a little side note right here. Mm. Oh, the Free Academy. I was expecting to enter at the Free Academy next year. There's a little asterisk. Now the College of the City of New York. Um, like a junior college. So he asked him, "Are you earnest?" asked Fosnick, because he's asking he wants a tutor. Dick responds, "In course I am," said Dick. "It's fashionable for young gentlemen to have private tutors to introduct them into the flower beds of literature and science. And why shouldn't I follow the fashion? You shall be my professor, only you must promise not to be very hard if my writing looks like a rail fence on a bender." "I'll try not to be too severe," said Fosdick, laughing. "I shall be thankful for such a chance to get a place to sleep. Have you got anything to read out of?" "No," said Dick. "My extensive and well-selected library was lost overboard in a storm, and when I was sailing from the Sandwich Islands to the desert of Sahara, but I'll buy a paper. That'll do me a long time." Accordingly, Dick stopped at a paper stand and bought a copy of a weekly paper filled with the usual variety of reading matter, stories, sketches, poems, etc. They soon arrived at Dick's lodging house. Our hero, procuring a lamp from the landlady, led the way into his apartment, which he entered with the proud air of a proprietor. "Well, how do you like it, Fosdick?" he asked, complacently. The time was when Fosdick would have thought it untidy and not particularly attractive. The time was when Fosdick would have thought it untidy and not particularly attractive, but he had served a severe apprenticeship in the streets, and it was pleasant to feel himself under shelter, and he was not disposed to be critical. It looks very comfortable, Dick, he said. The bed ain't very large, said Dick, but I guess we can get along. Oh, yes, said Fosdick cheerfully. I don't take up much room. Then that's all right. There's two chairs, you see, one for you and one for me, in case the mayor comes in to spend the evening socially. He can sit on the bed. The boys seated themselves, and 5 minutes later, under the guidance of his young tutor, Dick had commenced his studies. I like that Dick is he's kind of crazy, you know. Like, I'm starting to think he's not being funny about the mayor. When we run into the mayor, maybe I find him to be ambitious, you know.